My name is Naomi. I'm 33. Last Saturday at 2:47 p.m., I was standing in my father's backyard, watching him nail a 6-foot banner to the fence that read, "Goodbye, freeloader, do not come back," while 43 relatives clapped and my sister Brittany filmed it on her phone for Instagram. The banner was professionally printed. He'd paid extra for same-day delivery. "Richard, the spacing is off on the left side," my mother called from the patio, adjusting her new Cartier bracelet. The one Brittany bought her last week. The one that cost $8,400. I know because I track every purchase that goes through the dealership's corporate card. My father climbed down from the ladder, wiped his hands on his khakis, and turned to face the crowd. "Today is a good day," he announced. "Today we finally cut the dead weight from this family." Uncle Greg whistled. Jamal, my brother-in-law, raised his glass of champagne. It was 2:49 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, and they were drinking Veuve Clicquot that cost $89 a bottle from the dealership's entertainment budget. I was holding a plate of potato salad I'd brought from the grocery store deli. My hands were shaking so badly, the plate rattled. "Naomi's been living in our guest house for free for 8 years, my father continued. His voice carried across the yard like he was giving a dealership sales pitch. 8 years of handouts. 8 years of excuses. 8 years of watching her younger sister build an actual life while she plays accountant at her little firm." Brittany stepped forward, her phone still recording. She was wearing a Zimmerman dress that retailed for $1,295. "Daddy, you're so brave for finally doing this," she said. Her voice had that breathy quality she used when she wanted something. Some people never learn to stand on their own 2 feet. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. My father pointed at me. "You see that car in the driveway? The 2015 Honda Civic?" Everyone turned to look. My car was parked on the street because Brittany's Range Rover and Jamal's Tesla took up the driveway. "That's what happens when you waste your potential," Richard said. "Your sister drives a $95,000 vehicle. You drive a car that's older than some of the interns at my dealership." I set the potato salad down on the picnic table. My face was burning so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "Dad," I said quietly, "can we talk about this inside?" "Inside?" He laughed. It was sharp and performative. "Inside is for family. You're being evicted, Naomi. The locks change Monday morning at 8 a.m. Whatever you can't pack by Sunday night stays with the house." My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, even though she wasn't crying. "We tried to help you, sweetheart. We really did. But you have to want to help yourself." I'd been paying $1,200 a month to live in that guest house. It wasn't free. I had records. 12 months times 8 years, $115,200 in total. Every payment made by check with guest house rent, written in the memo line. But I didn't say that. Not then. "The guest house is mine," I said instead. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "I have a lease agreement." Richard's expression shifted. Something dark crossed his face. "A lease agreement you wrote yourself on your laptop doesn't count as a legal document, Naomi. I'm the property owner. I can revoke permission anytime I want." "That's not how rental law works." "Rental law?" Brittany laughed, high and cruel. "God, Naomi, you sound so desperate. Just admit you've been using Dad this whole time." Jamal put his arm around her waist. "Babe, don't engage. Freeloaders always make themselves the victim." The word hit me like cold water. Freeloader. My father had started using it 6 months ago. First in private conversations, then at family dinners, and now here, in front of everyone who mattered. The word had weight now. It had witnesses. I looked around the yard. Uncle Greg wouldn't meet my eyes. My cousin Rachel was suddenly very interested in her phone. The neighbors who'd been invited, the Hendersons, the Kims, were studying their plates like they contained classified information. No one was going to defend me. "I'll be out by Sunday," I said. Smart choice. Richard turned back to his audience, already moving on. Now, let's talk about the real reason we're celebrating. Brittany and Jamal just closed on their second investment property, $2.4 million, all cash. The crowd erupted in applause. I walked back to the guest house, my guest house, with my furniture and my name on 8 years of rent checks, and sat on the floor of the bathroom for 22 minutes. I didn't cry. My hands just shook, and I counted the tiles on the wall. 76 white tiles, 12 cracked ones. Let me take you back 11 years to when I was 22 and working the night shift at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. I was 3 months into my first semester at community college, taking accounting classes during the day and slinging coffee from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4 nights a week. The tips weren't great, maybe $60 on a good night, but it was enough to pay for textbooks and the studio apartment I shared with 2 other girls. Brittany was in high school then, and she'd just made varsity cheerleading. My father threw her a party that cost $3,000. I remember because I saw the invoice when I went home for Thanksgiving. Prime rib. A DJ. Custom banners that said Brittany, born to shine. I gave her a card with $20 inside. It was everything I'd made in tips the night before. She opened it in front of the whole family and said, "Oh, thanks, I guess." My mother patted her hand. "It's the thought that counts, honey." But what I remember most from that visit was the conversation I overheard between my parents at 11 p.m. when I was getting water from the kitchen. "Naomi looks tired," my mother said. "She's always tired," Richard replied. "That's what happens when you choose the hard path instead of accepting help." "Should we offer?" "No." His voice was firm. "She made her choice. Community college, that ridiculous apartment. She wants to prove she doesn't need us. Let her prove it." I stood in the hallway holding an empty glass, and something settled into my chest. Not anger, understanding. I went back to school the next semester and changed my major to forensic accounting. Not regular accounting, forensic. The kind that traces money through shell companies and offshore accounts. The kind that finds what people try to hide. I graduated summa cum laude 2 years later. My father didn't come to the ceremony. He was at Brittany's college orientation at USC. My first job was at a small firm called Chen and Associates. My boss, Marcus Chen, was 67 years old and looked like someone's grandfather, but he'd built a reputation taking down corporate fraud cases that made the SEC sweat. "You're good with patterns," he told me during my second week. "Most people see numbers. You see stories." He was right. Numbers don't lie. People do, but numbers always tell you where the lie started. I worked for Marcus for 6 years. I learned how to read tax returns like novels, how to spot a shell company from 3 states away, how to follow money through trusts and LLCs and family holdings until I found where it actually ended up. And I learned something else. Rich people don't stay rich by accident. They stay rich by moving money where no one thinks to look. 3 years ago, Marcus called me into his office on a Tuesday morning at 9:15 a.m. "I'm retiring," he said. I wasn't surprised. He'd been talking about his boat in Florida for months. "I'm giving you my client list," he continued, "and I'm making you a partner. Chen and Associates becomes Chen and Monroe." I stared at him. "Marcus, I can't afford a partnership buyout. I'm not asking you to buy in. I'm asking you to take over." He slid a folder across the desk. "I built this firm for 32 years. I'm not selling it to some corporate group that'll strip it for parts. You've earned this." Inside the folder was a contract, a real one, transferring 60% ownership to me effective immediately. The remaining 40% would convert to mine when he officially retired in 6 months. I read it 3 times. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you're the only person I've met in 3 decades who cares more about being right than being liked." He smiled. "Also, you caught that Feldman case discrepancy in 45 minutes. Took the SEC 6 months. You're wasted working for someone else." That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I didn't just take over Chen and Associates. I created something new, something separate. I filed paperwork for a private holding company under a name no one would connect to me. Apex Holdings, LLC. Marcus helped me set it up. Every forensic accountant should have a vehicle for opportunity, he said. Sometimes you find money that needs recovering. Sometimes you find assets that need protecting. And sometimes you find leverage. I Apex Holdings, LLC, became active on a Wednesday in March 3 years ago. Corporate registry, tax ID, business bank account, all legal, all documented, all invisible to anyone who wasn't specifically looking for it. I started small. Distressed debt. When companies or individuals defaulted on loans, their debt got sold to collection agencies for pennies on the dollar. I'd buy it, small amounts, $10,000 here, $25,000 there, and either collect it or write it off. But I was watching for something bigger. I was watching my father's dealership. Richard Monroe owned Monroe Luxury Motors, a mid-tier luxury car dealership specializing in Mercedes, BMW, and Lexus. He'd inherited it from my grandfather 15 years ago. It should have been thriving. The luxury car market in our area was strong. Inventory moved fast, but I'd seen the signs for years. The way my father always had cash for Brittany's shopping sprees, but claimed the dealership was tight when I asked for a small loan for textbooks. The way he drove a brand new S-Class every year but paid his sales staff late sometimes. The way the family estate, a beautiful 4-bedroom house on 2 acres, was always under renovation, but nothing ever got finished. So I started pulling public records, property filings, tax assessments, corporate registrations, loan documents, and I found it. The family estate had been remortgaged. Not once, 4 times. The dealership had 3 separate liens against it from different lenders. The total debt, $1.7 million. My father had been borrowing against everything he owned for the past 8 years. High-interest loans, balloon payments, adjustable rates that reset every 3 years. He was playing musical chairs with money, moving it from one account to another, refinancing debt with new debt, keeping the whole thing afloat with minimum payments and charm. And I knew exactly where the money was going. Brittany's USC tuition, $68,000 per year for 4 years, paid in full, no student loans. Brittany's Range Rover, $95,000. Brittany's apartment in Marina del Rey, $4,200 per month, co-signed by Richard. Brittany's consulting business that had no clients and no revenue, $15,000 in startup costs funded by the dealership's corporate account. Jamal's Tesla, $87,000, wedding gift from Richard. The second investment property Brittany just bought. Down payment of $480,000 loaned by Richard, documented as a family trust distribution. There was no family trust, I'd checked. My father was liquidating everything to fund Brittany's lifestyle while calling me a freeloader. I sat in my office at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night, looking at spreadsheets that showed the full picture. Richard Monroe was drowning. The debt payments alone were $23,000 a month. The dealership's profit margin was shrinking. In 18 months, maybe less, the whole thing would collapse. And when it did, the lenders would come for everything. The dealership, the house, the cars, all of it. Unless someone bought the debt first. I made a phone call to a contact at a debt acquisition firm. I'm looking for distressed commercial real estate loans in the Tri-County area, specifically anything tied to automotive retail. It took 6 weeks, but they found it. One of Richard's lenders, a private equity group that had bought his second mortgage, was looking to offload the note. They were tired of chasing payments. They wanted out. The total debt on that note, $620,000. The asking price for the debt, $340,000. I bought it through Apex Holdings LLC on a Tuesday morning at 10:33 a.m. I now owned $620,000 of my father's debt. He had no idea. The loan servicer changed from Pinnacle Lending Group to Apex Holdings, but the payment address stayed the same, As far as Richard knew, nothing had changed. But I had leverage now. I could call the loan. I could foreclose. I could force a sale. I didn't. Not yet. I waited. I kept paying my rent to live in the guest house. I kept showing up to family dinners when invited. I kept listening to Brittany talk about her investment properties, and my father talk about expansion plans for the dealership that would never happen. And I kept watching the numbers. Richard missed his first payment to Apex Holdings 4 months after I bought the debt. I sent a standard late notice. He paid it 2 weeks later with a $200 late fee. He missed the second payment 3 months after that. This time I sent a formal notice of default. He had 30 days to cure, or I could begin foreclosure proceedings. He paid it on day 28. But the third time he missed a payment, I didn't send a notice. I waited. 31 days, 60 days, 90 days. And then I filed the foreclosure paperwork. Not publicly, not yet. Just the legal documents, sitting in a lawyer's office, waiting for the right moment. That was 8 months ago. 2 weeks before the barbecue, I'd received a call from Richard's primary lender, the one who held the first mortgage on the estate. They were getting nervous. Richard had missed 2 consecutive payments. They were considering acceleration. "Do you want to buy this note too?" the representative asked. I did the math. The first mortgage had a balance of $890,000. They'd sell it for $520,000. I bought it. Now I owned both mortgages on the family estate. Total debt, $1.51 million. Amount I'd paid, $860,000. The money came from the firm, from Apex Holdings, from 8 years of 70-hour work weeks and sleeping 4 hours a night and learning how to turn patterns into profit. My father thought I was a freeloader. I owned his house. The Monday after the barbecue, I didn't pack my things. I went to work. I had a 9 a.m. meeting with a potential client, a CEO who suspected his CFO of embezzlement. I showed up in my gray suit from Nordstrom Rack that cost $240 and carried my evidence binders in a leather bag I'd bought on sale 3 years ago. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not Marcus, not my colleagues, not my friends. I just worked. At 11:30 a.m., my phone rang. Richard. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 11:33 a.m., again at 11:40 a.m. At 11:47 a.m., he left a message. "Naomi, the locks have been changed. If you want your things, you have until 6 p.m. tonight. After that, I'm donating everything to Goodwill." I called my lawyer. "File the foreclosure," I said. "All of it, both mortgages. I want the public notice filed today." "Naomi, are you sure?" "Once this is public, I'm sure." The notice of foreclosure became public record at 3:17 p.m. that Monday. It listed Apex Holdings LLC as the creditor. It listed the total debt owed, $1.51 million. It listed Richard Monroe and Elizabeth Monroe as the debtors. It listed the property address, 4782 Elmhurst Lane, the family estate. And it gave them 30 days to pay in full or vacate. I didn't hear from Richard that night, or the next day. I moved my things out of the guest house on Tuesday evening. I rented a storage unit and hired 2 college kids to help me load everything. It took 4 hours. I left the keys on the kitchen counter. On Wednesday morning at 6:51 a.m., my phone exploded. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages. Richard. "What is Apex Holdings?" Richard. "Some company is trying to steal our house." Richard. "Call me now." Richard. "This is elder abuse." Brittany. "OMG, Naomi, did you do this?" Brittany. "You're insane." Brittany. "Daddy is literally crying." My mother. "Please call us. We don't understand what's happening." Uncle Greg. "Your father needs help. Family helps family." I turned my phone off and went to work. At 2 p.m., Richard showed up at my office. I was in the conference room with the embezzlement client when my assistant knocked on the door. "Naomi, there's someone here to see you. He says he's your father. He's upset." I excused myself and walked to the lobby. Richard was standing by the reception desk, red-faced and sweating. He was wearing the same khakis from the barbecue. He looked like he hadn't slept. "What the hell is Apex Holdings?" he demanded. The receptionist's eyes went wide. Two junior associates froze in the hallway. "Please lower your voice," I said calmly. "This is a professional office." "Professional?" His laugh was sharp and bitter. "You want to talk about professional? You're trying to steal my house." "I'm not trying to steal anything. I'm a creditor collecting on a debt you haven't paid." "I don't owe Apex Holdings anything. I've never even heard of them until yesterday." I pulled out my phone, pulled up the loan documents, and showed him the screen. "You signed this mortgage agreement with Pinnacle Lending Group in March 2022. Pinnacle sold the note to Apex Holdings in February of this year. The debt transferred. You were notified by mail. You continued making payments, intermittently, to Apex Holdings until you stopped paying altogether." His face went pale. You bought my debt?" "Apex Holdings LLC bought distressed commercial real estate debt, yes." "You're a debt collector now? That's what you do? You prey on your own family?" "I'm a forensic accountant. Debt acquisition is part of asset recovery." I kept my voice level, professional. "You owe $1.51 million. You've missed 9 payments in the last 18 months. You're in default." "This is insane." He was shaking now, actual shaking. "I'm your father. You called me a freeloader. You evicted me. You threw a party to celebrate getting rid of me." I paused. "You made your choice." "Naomi, please." His voice cracked. "We can work this out. I'll pay you back. Just give me time." "You've had time. 31 years, actually. That's how long you've had to treat me like I mattered." "I'm not perfect, but I'm your father. You can't just destroy me because I hurt your feelings." Something hardened in my chest. Something final. "This isn't about feelings," I said. "This is about debt. You owe money. I own the debt. Pay it or lose the house. Those are your options." I turned and walked back to the conference room. Behind me, I heard him shouting, "You'll regret this! I'll fight this! I'll sue you for everything you have!" Security escorted him out 3 minutes later. I sat back down with my client and picked up where we'd left off. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't waver. But something had shifted. Something I couldn't take back. That night, I went home to my new apartment, a 1-bedroom place I'd rented on the east side of town, and I sat on the floor because my furniture was still in storage. I opened my laptop and looked at the foreclosure documents one more time. 30 days until the auction. 30 days until Richard and Elizabeth Monroe had to pay $1.51 million or lose everything. They wouldn't pay. They couldn't. I'd seen the numbers. They didn't have it. Which meant in 30 days, the house would go to auction. And Apex Holdings, me, would be first in line to buy it for the amount owed. I'd own the family estate. I'd own the house my grandfather built, the house I grew up in, the house where Brittany still lived rent-free in her old bedroom when she wasn't at her Marina del Rey apartment. I closed the laptop and stared at the blank wall. I should have felt powerful, vindicated. Instead, I felt hollow. The next 3 weeks were chaos. Richard hired a lawyer. The lawyer sent letters threatening to sue for fraudulent debt acquisition and intentional infliction of emotional distress. My lawyer sent back copies of every loan document Richard had signed, every payment record, every legal notice we'd sent. The lawsuit threats stopped. Brittany posted on Instagram, "Family is supposed to support each other, not tear each other down, praying for peace and understanding." The post got 847 likes. I didn't respond. My mother called once. I answered. "Naomi, sweetheart, I don't understand what's happening," she said. Her voice was small and confused. "Your father says you're taking the house. That can't be right. You wouldn't do that." "He owes money," I said simply. "I bought the debt. He's not paying." "But we're family." "I paid rent for 8 years, Mom. $115,200. I have the canceled checks. Did he tell you that?" Silence. "Did he tell you I was paying rent when he called me a freeloader in front of 40 people?" "He was upset. He didn't mean, he meant it. My voice stayed calm, flat. He's meant it for years. Naomi, please, he's your father. He loves you. Then he can pay his debt. I hung up. The calls kept coming. Uncle Greg, Cousin Rachel, family friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had an opinion about what I should do. No one had defended me at the barbecue. 28 days after the foreclosure notice went public, I received an email from an unexpected source, the Grand Plaza Hotel. Subject, sponsorship opportunity. Annual charity gala. The Grand Plaza Hotel was hosting its annual charity gala benefiting the Children's Medical Foundation. They were looking for corporate sponsors. Sponsorship tiers ranged from $5,000 to $50,000. For $50,000, you got a table for 10, your company name on all event materials, and a speaking slot during the program. I stared at the email. The gala was in 4 days. I called my lawyer. What are the chances Richard will be at the Grand Plaza Hotel Charity Gala on Saturday? Hi, she said. He's sponsored it for the last 8 years, uses it for dealership networking. Why? I want to buy the platinum sponsorship, $50,000. Can we do it in Apex Holdings' name? Naomi, what are you planning? I'm planning to go to a charity event. You're going to confront him publicly. I'm going to exist publicly. If he has a problem with that, he can leave. She was quiet for a moment. The foreclosure auction is in 2 days. If he doesn't pay by Friday at 5 p.m., the property goes to auction Monday morning. You'll own it by Monday afternoon. I know. This is going to get messy. It's already messy. I wired $50,000 to the Children's Medical Foundation that afternoon. The Grand Plaza Hotel sent confirmation. Apex Holdings LLC was now the platinum sponsor of the 47th Annual Charity Gala. Friday came. 5 p.m. passed. No payment from Richard Monroe. The foreclosure became final. The auction was set for Monday, 10 a.m. at the county courthouse. Saturday evening, I got dressed for the gala. I wore a black dress I'd bought specifically for this. Sleek, professional, expensive. Not designer, but expensive enough to make a point. I did my makeup carefully. I wore the pearl earrings my grandmother left me before she died, the only piece of jewelry I owned that mattered. I drove to the Grand Plaza Hotel and pulled up to the valet at 6:43 p.m. The lobby was already crowded. Women in evening gowns, men in tuxedos, champagne flowing, a string quartet playing near the grand staircase. I checked in at the registration desk. Name? The woman asked. Naomi Monroe, Apex Holdings, LLC. She scanned her list, then smiled. Oh, you're our platinum sponsor. Thank you so much for your generosity. Your table is number 1 right in front of the stage. Table 1, center of the room, impossible to miss. I walked into the ballroom. It was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, centerpieces of orchids and roses, a stage at the front with a podium and a projection screen showing the Children's Medical Foundation logo. And there, at table 7, I saw them. Richard, Elizabeth, Brittany, Jamal. They hadn't seen me yet. Richard was laughing with someone I didn't recognize. Brittany was taking a selfie. My mother was adjusting her napkin. I walked to table 1 and sat down. 2 minutes later, Brittany saw me. I watched her face change. Confusion, recognition, shock. She grabbed Jamal's arm and whispered something. Then Richard turned. Our eyes met across the ballroom. His face went white. I smiled. Not smug, just present. He stood up, started walking toward me. My heart was pounding, but I kept my expression neutral. What are you doing here? He hissed when he reached my table. I'm attending a charity gala. I'm a sponsor. You're not a... He stopped, looked at the place card on my table. Apex Holdings, LLC. You've got to be kidding me. $50,000 to the Children's Medical Foundation. I thought it was a worthy cause. This is harassment. This is philanthropy. Brittany appeared at his elbow. She was wearing a dress that probably cost $3,000. Naomi, you need to leave. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm a sponsor. I have every right to be here. You're destroying our family. Brittany's voice was getting louder. People at nearby tables were starting to notice. I'm collecting a debt. Richard leaned down, his voice low and dangerous. If you think you're going to humiliate me here, in front of the mayor and half the business community, you're wrong. I will make sure everyone knows what you've done. I will tell them you're a vindictive, ungrateful— Mr. Monroe? A voice interrupted. We all turned. It was the event coordinator, a woman in her 50s with a clipboard. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're about to start the program. All sponsors are asked to return to their tables. Richard straightened, forced a smile. Of course. My apologies. He walked back to table 7. Brittany lingered for a second, glaring at me. You are just trying to scare me, she whispered. Daddy will fix this. He always does. He can't fix this, I said quietly. Not this time. She walked away. The lights dimmed. The program began. The MC welcomed everyone, thanked the sponsors, and introduced the foundation director. Then, we'd like to give a special thank you to our platinum sponsor, Apex Holdings LLC. The CEO is here with us tonight. Naomi Monroe, would you please stand? Every head in the room turned. I stood. Applause. Polite, warm, generous applause. I saw Richard's face across the room. He looked like he was going to be sick. Naomi has generously donated $50,000 to support our work with pediatric patients, the MC continued. Thank you for your incredible generosity. More applause. I sat down. The program continued. Dinner was served, speeches were made, and then, during dessert, it happened. Brittany's credit card was declined. I didn't see it happen, but I heard about it later. She'd tried to bid on an auction item, a weekend getaway package to Napa Valley. She put her card down for the $4,500 winning bid. Declined. She tried another card. Declined. Jamal tried his card. Declined. Richard tried to intervene, tried to write a check, but the event coordinator politely explained that auction payments had to be processed immediately by card. They had to forfeit the bid. At 9:15 p.m., during the networking portion of the evening, Richard cornered me near the bar. You did this, he said. His face was red, his jaw tight. You're freezing our accounts. I'm not freezing anything, I'm a creditor. If your credit cards are maxed out, that's between you and your card companies. You know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm owed. I raised you. I gave you a home. I gave you everything. You gave Brittany everything, I corrected. You gave me a guest house I paid rent for and a lifetime of being called a freeloader. So this is revenge? You're going to destroy me because I hurt your feelings? This is business. You borrowed money you couldn't pay back. You mortgaged assets you couldn't afford to lose. You made choices. These are the consequences. He stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. If you go through with the auction on Monday, I will never forgive you. You will be dead to this family. I looked at him, really looked at him, this man who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike, who came to exactly 3 of my school events in 12 years, who paid for Brittany's college in full but told me I should earn my own way, who called me a freeloader in front of 43 people while Brittany filmed it for social media. I've been dead to this family for years, I said. You just didn't bother with a funeral. I walked away. At 9:47 p.m., the mayor took the stage for closing remarks. Before we end this wonderful evening, he said, I want to recognize some of our longtime supporters. The Monroe family has been sponsoring this event for 8 consecutive years. Richard, would you and your family please stand? Richard stood. Brittany stood. Jamal stood. My mother stood. They waved. People applauded. Thank you for your continued commitment to our children, the mayor said. Continued commitment. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I checked the dealership's corporate account, the one I still had access to from 3 years ago when Richard briefly added me as an emergency contact and never removed me. Balance? $847. I checked the payment history. The last charity gala sponsorship, $15,000, paid in March. They'd sponsored at the gold tier, not platinum, and they'd paid for it with a cash advance from one of Brittany's credit cards. I stood up. "Excuse me," I said. The room went quiet, all eyes on me. "I'm sorry to interrupt," I continued, keeping my voice calm and clear. "But I think there's been some confusion. The Monroe family has been wonderful supporters of this foundation, but I want to clarify something about this year's sponsorship." Richard's face went from red to white. "According to the foundation's records, the Monroe family sponsored at the gold tier this year, not platinum. Their contribution of $15,000 is appreciated and meaningful, but I want to make sure credit is given where it's due. Apex Holdings LLC provided the $50,000 platinum sponsorship." The mayor looked confused. "Yes, we acknowledged that earlier." "I know. I just wanted to make sure there was no confusion about who contributed what. Transparency matters." I sat down. The room was dead silent. Richard stood frozen at table 7. Then Brittany's voice cut through. "This is ridiculous. Daddy, tell them. Tell them we always sponsor at the highest level." "Brittany, sit down," Richard said through his teeth. "No, she's lying. She's trying to make us look bad." "The foundation has records," I said calmly. "They can verify sponsorship tiers if needed." The event coordinator stepped forward, clearly uncomfortable. Yes, we do have records. Apex Holdings is our platinum sponsor this year. The Monroe family is gold tier." Brittany's face went bright red. "Well, we would have done platinum, but someone stole our money." The room erupted in whispers. Richard grabbed Brittany's arm. "We're leaving." "I deserve half," Brittany shouted, jerking away from him. "Half of everything. That's how families work." "Brittany, stop." "No, she's stealing from us. She's stealing the house. She's stealing the dealership. She's—" "Brittany, I said we're leaving." They walked out. Not gracefully, not quietly. Brittany was crying. My mother was holding her arm. Jamal was trying to get her to stop talking. Richard didn't look back. The mayor cleared his throat. "Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Drive safely." The gala ended at 10:04 p.m. I stayed until 10:30, making small talk with other sponsors, accepting congratulations for my generosity. No one asked about the Monroes. No one mentioned the scene. But I saw the looks, the whispers, the social damage was done. Monday morning at 10 a.m., I stood on the courthouse steps with my lawyer. The foreclosure auction lasted 9 minutes. No one bid against Apex Holdings LLC. I bought the family estate and the luxury car dealership for the total debt owed, $1.51 million. I already owned it technically. I'd owned the debt. Now, I owned the assets. By 10:47 a.m., the paperwork was filed. The house at 4782 Elmhurst Lane and Monroe Luxury Motors were now the property of Apex Holdings LLC. Richard had until the end of the month to vacate. He called me that afternoon. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "You've won. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it." I deleted it. 2 weeks later, I drove to the house. It was empty. They'd moved out early, took everything they could carry. I walked through the rooms, my childhood bedroom, Brittany's room with the walk-in closet, the kitchen where we used to have Sunday dinners. It felt smaller than I remembered. I didn't keep the house. I sold it 3 months later to a young couple with 2 kids. Nice people. The husband was a teacher, the wife was a nurse. They were so excited about the backyard. I sold it to them for $890,000, exactly what I'd paid for the first mortgage. I took a loss. I didn't care. The dealership was different. I restructured it, brought in new management, cut the luxury spending, focused on customer service and employee retention. It's profitable now, not wildly but steadily. I kept it. Monroe Luxury Motors still exists, but it's owned by Apex Holdings LLC now, not the Monroe family. Richard tried to start a new dealership 6 months later. It failed in less than a year. Brittany and Jamal moved to Arizona. She posts on Instagram sometimes. Motivational quotes about resilience and new beginnings. My mother sends me birthday cards. I don't respond, but I don't throw them away either. 1 year later, I'm sitting in my office at Chen and Monroe Associates. The firm is officially mine now. Mark is fully retired, and I'm looking at a photo on my desk. It's from my college graduation, community college. I'm wearing my cap and gown, holding my diploma, grinning like an idiot. I took that photo myself. Selfie, timer, tripod from Target. No one came to watch me graduate. But I graduated summa cum laude anyway. I learned something that day that I keep learning over and over. You don't need anyone's permission to have value, but you do need to give yourself permission to walk away. If you're watching this and you've ever had to walk away from someone you love to protect yourself, type, "I walked away" in the comments. Or, if you chose to stay and fight for your boundaries, type, "I stayed and fought." Both are brave. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.